I'm 99 years old. I've seen a lot. I've lived through 18 recessions, maybe more, I lose count. I've seen wars and depressions and financial manias that make your head spin. I've seen booms and busts that wiped out entire generations of so-called smart people, and I am about to die. That's not a guess. It's not drama, it's arithmetic. At 99, you don't buy green bananas. I don't have time to waste on financial nonsense. I don't have time for complex theories or polite fictions. And at 60, neither do you. The biggest error you're making isn't picking the wrong stock, it's believing you have time. You don't. At 60, your time horizon for recovery is zero. It's gone. A single large mistake, the kind that a 25-year-old laughs off, will end you. It will permanently alter the quality of your life and your children's life. I am going to list the 5 catastrophic errors that mathematically guarantee people over 60 go broke. This isn't about getting rich. That game is over. This is about not dying poor. Stay with me here. Most people over 60 believe they have 2 bad options. Either take significant risks in complex growth stocks to beat inflation, or hide in cash and watch their purchasing power evaporate. They are told they must stay in the market or find yield to survive a 30-year retirement. That line of thinking is fundamentally wrong, and it's how people go broke when they can least afford it. At 60, the game is over. You are no longer accumulating, you are preserving. The math of compounding is brutal in reverse. A 50% loss requires a 100% gain just to get back to even. You simply do not have the time for that kind of recovery. True safe growth isn't about finding the next 10-bagger or timing the market. It's about ruthlessly eliminating every possible scenario of permanent capital loss. You are in the final, most critical decade of compounding, and you cannot recover from a major setback. The standard 70-30 portfolio is often a trap set by advisors who don't have to live with your consequences. I'll show you 5 catastrophic errors that people over 60 make that mathematically guarantee they outlive their money. Avoid these, and you will ensure your capital survives with you, not just for you. The first error is the most common. It's the yield trap. The first error, the yield trap. This is the siren song for new retirees. You stop working, your paycheck stops. You look at your pile of money, your nest egg, and you think, how do I make this pay me? You need income. So you go hunting for yield. This is almost always a catastrophic mistake. The damage is simple arithmetic. First, reaching for high yield, say anything over 5 or 6% in a normal environment, forces you into mathematically riskier assets. These aren't strong, boring companies. These are junk bonds. These are high-debt real estate investment trusts, the ones that own dying class malls. These are businesses whose principle is shaky. Second, you have to understand what a high yield times is. Asterisk. The market is not a charity. It's not your friend. It doesn't give you 8% for free. If the yield is high, it's because the market is pricing in a high chance of default. It's pricing in a dividend cut. It's pricing in the very real possibility that your principal, your starting capital, is about to be cut in half. The high yield is a warning sign, not an opportunity. It is a signal of distress. Third, it ignores total return. This is the part everyone forgets. A 10% dividend is utterly useless if the stock drops 40%. You got your $10,000 in dividends, but you lost $400,000 in principal. That's a trade for an idiot. But people make it every single day because they are mesmerized by the Times word asterisk income rather than the Times math times of total return. Let me tell you a story. There was a dentist, 67 years old, just retired, moved to Miami, Florida. He'd done well, sold his practice, had about $2 million in his retirement account. This was around 2021. You remember 2021? Interest rates were zero. You got nothing in a bank account, nothing in a T-bill. But this dentist, he had his Miami lifestyle. He had the condo, the boat club. He calculated he needed about $100,000 a year to live well. That's 5% of his $2 million. So he goes to an advisor. And the advisor, of course, says 5% is easy. In 2021, asterisk, everyone times was a genius. You had people getting rich on nonsense. The dentist felt he was being too conservative. The advisor builds him this high-income portfolio. It's full of 8% dividend stocks, businesses with shaky balance sheets, and leveraged REITs paying 9%. The dentist is thrilled. He feels smart. He feels like he's beating the system. He's getting his income, and the market is still going up. Then came 2022 and 2023. The Federal Reserve raised interest rates faster than at any time in history. And what happens to high yield, high debt assets when interest rates rise? They collapse. It's just gravity. Those high debt REITs, their financing costs exploded. They had to cut their dividends. Those 8% stocks, they were risky assets, and they were repriced overnight. His $2 million portfolio fell to $1.2 million, a 40% loss. And the worst part, the income he chased. It was cut anyway. Those dividends vanished. So now he had a portfolio worth $800,000 less, and at times, still times, wasn't paying him the income he needed. He's 70 years old now. I'm told he's looking for part-time consulting work. His wife says he never puts his phone down at the dinner table. He's always checking the stock ticker, always hoping for a recovery that isn't coming. He didn't just lose his money, he lost his peace of mind. He lost his retirement. The lesson is, the market is not a charity. It doesn't give you 8% for free. If the yield is high, the risk is high. You cannot afford to risk your principal for a little extra income. A 3% safe return from a great asset is infinitely better than an 8% gamble that breaks you. This trap leads directly to the second error, which is even more subtle. Error number 2, miscalculating your time horizon. This is the most pernicious lie in the financial services industry. You go to an advisor at age 60. You say, "I'm retiring." He pulls out a chart. He says, "Good news. You have a 30-year time horizon." He shows you actuarial tables. You'll probably live to 90 or 95. Therefore, he says, you can afford to take risks. You can afford to be 60 or 70% in stocks. You have time to recover. This is fundamentally, dangerously wrong. Your time spending times horizon is 30 years. Your times loss recovery times horizon is maybe 3 to 5 years. If you're lucky, a 25-year-old who gets hit by a 50% market crash, like in 2000 or 2008, is fine. He's happy. He just keeps buying, keeps putting money in from his paycheck every 2 weeks. He's buying at the bottom. His time horizon is real. You, at 65, get hit by that same 50% crash. What happens? You don't have a paycheck. You are not buying. You are time selling asterisk. You are selling shares at the absolute bottom, month after month, just to pay for your groceries. You are locking in permanent losses. You don't recover. You are destroyed. I've seen this happen over and over. I'm 99. Warren is 93. We've been at this for a long time. People ask us what our secret is. It's not genius. We just avoided stupidity. Look at the 1973 1974 crash. It was brutal. The market fell almost 50%. Inflation was raging. It was stagflation. It was the end of the world, according to the newspapers. People who were fully invested at 65 in 1973 were ruined. They had followed their advisor's advice. They owned the Nifty 50. These were the one decision stocks you were supposed to buy and hold forever. Companies like Xerox and Polaroid, they were considered infallible. People paid 60, 80 times earnings for them. They believed their own story. And when the crash came, these infallible stocks fell 50, 70, 90%. They were ruined, forced to sell for pennies. Warren and I, we were 50 and 43. We weren't ruined. Why? We had cash. We were sitting on cash from our insurance companies, from blue chip stamps. We were waiting. We weren't trying to time the market. We were just waiting for the inevitable moment when the world went crazy and offered us bargains. We didn't need to recover because we hadn't been stupid. We hadn't lost our principle. And while everyone else was ruined, while they were selling their best assets to us, we were buying. That's when we bought the Washington Post. That's when we bought some of our best assets. We bought them from people who were forced to sell, people who had miscalculated their time horizon. People who understand their true time horizon have cash. They have liquidity. People who don't are forced to sell to people like me. The lesson is, your time horizon is not your life expectancy. It's the time you have until the next major bear market. Can you survive 5 years without selling a single share? Can you pay all your bills for 5 straight years of a brutal downturn without touching your principal? If the answer is no, your time horizon is too short for the risks you are taking. This mistake is often caused by the next one, diversification. The third error, over-diversification, or as I call it, diversification. This is another masterpiece of the advisory industry. You're told it's the only free lunch. They show you modern portfolio theory. They want to reduce your risk. So what do? They put you in 40 different mutual funds. You get a statement that's 50 pages long. You own the U.S. Large Cap Growth Fund and the U.S. Large Cap Value Fund and the Global Dividend Fund and the Emerging Markets Fund. You feel safe. You feel sophisticated. You've been tricked. First, this guarantees mediocrity. When you own 40 funds, you own everything. You own all the bad companies right along with the good ones. You are guaranteed to get the absolute average return, minus the high fees you're paying for this service. Second, and this is the critical part for someone over 60, it does not protect you from a systemic crash. It's an illusion of safety. In 2008, all 40 of those funds went down together. In 2022, they all went down together. Your diversification didn't work when you needed it most. Why? Because you weren't diversified at all. You just owned the same risk in 40 different packages. I see this all the time. Think about an engineer, a successful software engineer in Austin, Texas. He's 62. He's getting ready to retire. He has $4 million. He thinks he's a genius. He thinks he's diversified. He tells me, Charlie, I own 20 different tech funds, and I own the S&P 500 index. I look at him. I say, you don't own 21 things. You own times one times thing. He's confused. I explain. What's in the S&P 500? It's just 7 giant tech stocks. What's in your 20 tech funds? The same times 7 giant tech stocks. His entire $4 million diversified portfolio is just one single bet. That U.S. large cap tech stocks will go up forever. When that bubble bursts, and it always does, his entire portfolio will fall 60% in unison. His advisor shows him a beautiful pie chart. It has 15 different colored slices. It looks so professional. Global tech, U.S. innovation, disruptive growth fund. The engineer, a very smart man in his own field, is impressed by this complexity. He thinks this is sophisticated. He doesn't realize it's all the same risk. It's all just a handful of stocks in Silicon Valley packaged in 15 different wrappers. The advisor has created an illusion of safety through complexity. It's not diversification, it's diversification. The lesson is, true diversification isn't owning 100 stocks, it's owning 3 or 4 different kinds of assets. A U.S. T-bill is not a tech stock. A good apartment building that you own and understand is not a junk bond. Owning 500 stocks in an index just guarantees you own the 450 bad ones. I'd rather own 3 great ones that I understand. If you can't find 3 or 4 great, safe, different assets, then you wait, you sit in cash. That is better than buying a basket of mediocrity that will fail you in the first real storm. But the real psychological trap is the next one. The 4th error, the recoverable loss fallacy. This is the psychological poison that finishes people off. It's the simple arithmetic we discussed earlier, but people cannot accept it. A 50% loss requires a 100% gain to get back to even. If your $2 million portfolio drops to $1 million, you don't just need it to go back up. You need that remaining 1 million to times double asterisk. You need a 100% return just to be broke. At 65 or 70, you do not have the time to wait for a 100% gain. It might take 10 years. It might take 15. It might never, ever happen. But people cling to the old price. They look at their statement and see the stock they bought at $100 is now at 50. They tell themselves, it's just a paper loss. I haven't lost anything until I sell. I'll just wait for it to get back to 100. This is a disaster. It's how a temporary loss becomes a permanent catastrophe. I think about an executive I knew, a smart man, ran a manufacturing plant in Chicago. This was back in 1999. He was 59, about to retire. He had $3 million. He'd done everything right. His portfolio was full of safe blue chips. Cisco Systems, General Electric, Intel. These were the gods of the market. You couldn't lose. Then the dot-com bubble burst. From 2000 to 2002, his portfolio was eviscerated. It fell almost 70%. His safe stocks were annihilated. Cisco, GE. But he was smart. He couldn't accept this new reality. He would sit and tell his wife, it's just on paper. This is hysteria. It's GE. It's Cisco. These companies' times are times the new economy. They'll come back. We just hold on. He refused to sell. He attached his ego to the decision. Selling would mean admitting he was wrong, admitting he was a fool. He believed the loss was recoverable because he needed times to believe it. His whole vision of his retirement depended on it. He waited and waited. He waited 15 years. It never came back. General Electric, that titan of industry, collapsed to pennies. It was a joke. Cisco never returned to its high. He ended up working until he was 72. He had to. His $3 million never recovered. He spent the last decade of his life living on a fraction of what he had planned, all because he couldn't accept that a loss was real. I believe he still has the paper stock certificates somewhere, for companies that barely exist, a monument to the recoverable loss fallacy. The lesson is simple arithmetic. At 60, any 50% loss is permanent, period. The game is over. Your entire strategy must be to avoid all scenarios that can cause a 30 to 50% loss. You are not in the investing game anymore. you are in the survival game. Which brings me to the final error, the person who causes all the others, the final and most dangerous error, the advisor competence error. This is the one that ties it all together. You've worked your whole life, you've saved, you're 65, you're nervous, you don't want to make a mistake, so you do the responsible thing. You hire a professional, you find a financial advisor at a big impressive bank with a marble lobby. You are outsourcing your survival to someone who is statistically mediocre. Worse, you are outsourcing it to someone whose incentives are not aligned with yours. How does your advisor get paid? He either gets paid a commission for selling you a product, or he gets paid a fee based on your assets under management. If he sells you a product, he's a salesman. He is not your partner. He is selling you what gives him times the biggest commission, not what's best for times you asterisk. If he charges a fee, say 1% of your assets, what is his incentive? Is it to protect your capital? No. His incentive is to gather times your capital. And once he has it, his incentive is to put you in the standard cookie cutter model, the 70-30 portfolio, that is easiest for him times to manage. He uses the same model for everyone. Why? Because it's inside his times circle of competence, not because it's right for times you asterisk. He doesn't have to live with the consequences. You do. He still gets his 1% fee, even while your portfolio is down 35%. He gets paid for failing. It's a crazy system. Think of a woman in Pasadena, a retired school principal, a widow. She's 70 years old. This was back before the 2008 crisis. Her husband had passed away, left her with $1.5 million. It was everything. She was scared. She did what anyone would do. She went to a nice man at a big famous bank. The name of the bank was on a skyscraper. It was a name her husband had trusted. The office was marble. He was kind. He spoke in a low, reassuring voice. He had plaques on his wall. President's Club. She wasn't just trusting him. She was trusting the Times institution asterisk, the brand. He put her in their balanced portfolio. He said it was safe and prudent. He said it was what we do for all our clients in your position. It was the standard cookie cutter answer. In 2008, that balanced portfolio fell 35%. She lost over $500,000. She was in a blind panic. She called him. He told her to stay the course. He told her it will come back. That recoverable loss fallacy again. But she was 70. She had to live. She had to keep withdrawing money month after month to pay her bills. She was selling her assets at the absolute bottom. She was crystallizing those losses, making them permanent. She never recovered. She's 85 now. She lives with her daughter. The advisor, he's fine. He probably got a promotion. He collected his 1% fee every single quarter, all the way down. The lesson: you must know more than your advisor. You must be able to grade their homework. If you hire someone to manage your money, you are still 100% responsible for the outcome. Trust, but verify the arithmetic. If you don't understand it, don't do it. Why am I so obsessed with avoiding loss? It's not academic for me. It's not a theory. It happened to me. Back in the early 1960s, I was running my own investment partnership. I had learned from Ben Graham. The first rule is don't lose money. The second rule is don't forget rule number 1. It sounds simple, but it wasn't real to me until 1973 and 1974. The market was cut in half. 50%. I was 50 years old, and I saw people who were smarter than me get ruined, utterly ruined. Berkshire, blue chip stamps. We weren't cut in half. Why? Because we didn't own the popular garbage. We didn't chase the nifty 50 stocks. We held cash. We were sitting on piles of cash from our insurance businesses, and while everyone in the world was in a panic, being forced to sell, we were buying. That's when we bought the Washington Post for pennies. That's when we bought our best assets. We bought them from people who had no cash, people who were leveraged, people who were stupid. I learned right then that surviving the crash is the only thing that matters. The growth, the compounding, it all takes care of itself. Asterisk if times you don't get wiped out first. Preservation is the foundation for all opportunity. That experience taught me the rules. My rules are not about growth. They are about not dying.
So here are the rules. They are simple.
Rule 1. Stop the yield hunt. Your job is total return, not income. If you need cash, sell 3% of a great asset. That's fine. Do not buy an 8% bad one. Rule 2. Your time horizon is 3 years, not 30. You must be able to live for 3 to 5 years without selling a single stock in a downturn. That means cash. Cash is not trash. Cash is oxygen. Cash is your power to wait. Rule 3. Invert the losses formula. Do not ask, how much can I make? Ask, how much can I lose? If you can lose 50%, you eventually will lose 50%. Avoid that scenario at all costs. Rule 4. Buy 3 things, not 300. Find 3 to 5 assets you understand completely that cannot go to zero. A great monopoly business you understand. That's it. Forget diversification. It sounds simple. Let me show you what this looks like when someone gets it right. I knew a woman, a high school history teacher. She never earned a huge salary, but she was sensible. She saved. She retired at 65, and she ignored all the noise. She ignored the advisors. She didn't chase yield. She bought 3 things in her life. First, her house. She paid it off. 0 debt. Her cost of living was low. Second, a simple S&P 500 index fund. She put money in it for 40 years and she never, ever touched it. Third, when she turned 60, she took 40% of her savings and put it all into US T-bills. Short-term treasury bills, safe, liquid. Then came 2022. The S&P 500 fell 20%. Stocks were collapsing. Bonds were collapsing. Was she in a panic? No. She lived off her T-bills. She paid her bills from her cash. She did not sell a single share of her S&P 500 fund. She just waited. She avoided the permanent loss. She's 75 now. Her S&P fund is worth more times today than when she retired. She never lost a single night of sleep. Now, compare her to the dentist in Miami. The dentist who chased yield and lost 40% of his principal. He's looking for a job. The teacher is traveling. She wasn't a genius. She just wasn't stupid. Let me tie this all together. Remember the errors. Chasing yield, miscalculating time, diversification, believing losses are recoverable, and trusting the advisor who sells you the other 4. The formula at 60 is not about growth. It's about arithmetic. The formula is survival capital plus a few great assets. Survival capital is 3 to 5 years of your living expenses in cash or T-bills. That is your real-time horizon. That is your oxygen. The great assets are 3 to 5 things you understand that cannot go to zero. Your house. A great business. An index fund that you times never sell times in a panic. That's it. That's the whole game. I'm 99. I won't be here to see the next crash. but you will. You are 60. You are 70. You are in the preservation game. Don't be stupid. Don't lose your money. You don't have the time to earn it back,